Hi, I'm Avery Davidson.
And I'm Kristen Oaks White. Well, every few years, the conversation in the ag world rolls back around to the Farm Bill. This is an important package of legislation that affects way more than the farmers and ranchers who put food on our tables and clothes on our backs.
Congress is supposed to approve a new farm bill every 5 years, and note I said supposed to. The bill covers everything from conservation programs and crop insurance to school, lunch, and nutrition programs. This week, Twila's Karl Wiggers takes us to Acadia Parish, where Congressman Clay Higgins was talking about this very important issue.
The pork is on the grill and the crowd is gathered around Jared Fry's farm to hear from their Congressman, Clay Higgins, what's happening in Washington, D.C. One of the most timely issues discussed was the upcoming Farm Bill.
This Farm Bill is going to make or break this country.
Jared Fry is a rice and crawfish farmer near Crowley and serves as the Acadia Parish Farm Bureau president. He's excited to host this lunch to recognize the elected officials in his area and bring them to the table with Farm Bureau members.
Clay Higgins has been a friend to agriculture, and as president of Acadia Parish Farm Bureau here, I serve on the board in Acadia Parish here, and he's been a true friend to the American farmer.
Congressman Higgins is also excited to see the new and improved Farm Bill, which has been years in the making.
We've been working on language for a couple of years, working closely with our farmers, our processors, and Farm Bureau in my office. And we have a lot of language written into the bill text of the new Farm Bill reauthorization that will be released sometime in the next few weeks, actually.
We'll actually have a bill out in the public, and the Ag Committee in the House intends to start debate and start hashing that out and figuring out what priorities make it and what don't. And we're pretty optimistic that a lot of ours are going to be on the positive side, at least with this House Ag rollout through Chairman G.T. Thompson's plan.
Louisiana Farm Bureau National Affairs Coordinator Andy Brown has been in constant contact with staff with Louisiana's entire congressional delegation. Earlier this year, he led a group of Louisiana Farm Bureau's young farmers and ranchers to Capitol Hill to discuss some of those priorities. However, he says meetings like this one in Crowley are so valuable for the congressman and the farmers he represents.
We can bring members to D.C. all we want, but everybody's in a suit and rotating out 15 minutes at a time. Where we've really moved the needle with somebody like a Clay Higgins, who came into his seat not being super familiar with ag, or at least with our issues within ag, and meetings just like Mr. Fry had on his farm. Mr. Higgins will tell you himself more eloquently than I can say, but that's really what's helped educate him, and that's what he's about. He'd much rather be on the farm in blue jeans talking about it than to be in D.C., but thankfully we have folks like him who are public servants who carry it all the way up there and tackle our issues on Capitol Hill.
So gathering with men and women like this on a regular basis is super important, not just for me as their congressman, but for me as a man, to hear from a boots on the ground level what the concerns are and the hopes and aspirations of our farmers, young and old.
Now, Higgins returns to the Beltway knowing exactly what the farmers and ranchers in his district need.
We do need this Farm Bill to keep us in business, and it's so important to the whole industry, not just rice. It's in every commodity, from your corn to your soybeans to your cane farmers to cotton farmers, every farming commodity out there.
Based on the latest report from the Congressional Research Service, the new Farm Bill is expected to cost in the ballpark of $1.4 trillion over the next 10 years. Now, for reference, more than 80% of that preliminary price tag is devoted to nutrition-based programs. And guys, Farm Bill is a topic I feel like we've already been talking about for a couple of years, but one thing that we see all the time out in the field, Farm Bureau is always a place and kind of creating that central place for folks like Congressman Higgins to meet with those farmers on farms like that. And I really enjoyed that part of this event. And it was very casual, very, he was just milling about. But that's really what makes, I think, Farm Bureau super powerful, is that ability to meet.
I know we see some of it in your package, but also what was sort of the level of engagement there amongst the members who were meeting there with Congressman Higgins?
We almost missed lunch. Everybody was asking questions, and they're talking Farm Bill, talking, the upcoming election, of course, but also other issues not really related to ag, but just related like what these folks were interested in. And yeah, he was talking, and they were asking questions, and it wouldn't stop. And he had to get ripped away just so he can get a quick bite before he had to get to his next place. But food was also really good. So
that helps.
It's nice.
Karl Wiggers, thanks so much for bringing us this grassroots in action story.
Well, Louisiana is one step closer to having a new constitution. It would be the 12th in our state's history and would make Louisiana the state with the most constitutions in the U.S. House Bill 800, authored by New Iberia Representative Bo Boileau, would call for a constitutional convention to convene beginning May 20th. It stalled on the House floor on Wednesday when it was scheduled for debate. In the Louisiana Constitution are several issues involving property tax and exemptions important to agriculture. Governor Jeff Landry was recently on the La Politics podcast with Jeremy Alford. He said he would like to see the new Constitution up for a vote during the November presidential election. With that in mind, he says the time is now to speak up about keeping those provisions in the Louisiana Constitution.
What I would tell them is that contact your legislature. Don't tell us why you're against something. Tell us how we could make it better and why the provisions that are on there are so important to the state as a whole.
There could be opposition in the Senate. Senate President Cam Henry has said after 2 special sessions and a regular session, his people are ready to go home.
A bill calling for a constitutional convention is not the only issue before the Louisiana legislature. House Bill 716, authored by Representative Chuck Owen of Leesville, would recognize out-of-state licenses for work to be done in Louisiana. It would require that those who do work in the state have maintained that license for at least a year. That would include crop consultants who may do work in Texas, Arkansas, and Mississippi. Louisiana Farm Bureau Legislative Specialist Joe Mapes says there's another amendment to the bill that's designed to fight out-migration from the state.
We're looking at a bill now that requires residency, which means that if you're going to come from Mississippi, for example, and be a landscaper or a nurseryman, if you want to work here, you've got to be a resident here. So the bill, as Thomas Presley, the senator who authored it, told me, is designed to bring people home and to bring new people to business in Louisiana and bring more competition.
Mapes says insurance reform bills are also moving forward through the legislature, though those dealing with tort reform have stalled. To the average person, they look like regular plants, bugs, or animals, but they're actually invasive species, and they can be harmful to Louisiana's ecosystem.
LSU just announced a program to study these species and hopefully find solutions to manage them. Twila's Josh Meeks introduces us to the new director of the Invasive Species Research Center.
Inside this greenhouse south of LSU's main campus, Rodrigo Diaz is hunting invaders. No, not the space kind.
We determined that we have new buds right here.
This rainy day is perfect for the invasive species giant salvinia to thrive. It came to Louisiana from Brazil. You've probably seen it in your ponds. When it gets thick, it can cut off oxygen to a water supply, leading to fish kills. Here in the aptly named Weevil Palace, Diaz studies the salvinia's natural predator, the Salvinia weevil.
But they are camera shy to the jaws.
As director of the newly founded Invasive Species Research Center, Diaz, his colleagues, and his students will look at how the biggest threats to Louisiana are coming in and spreading, as well as how to eradicate them. Many invasive species, like the apple snail, pose a danger to farmers.
You have seen the images how they, for example, for a crawfish farmer, how they are clogging the traps, making, rather than collecting crawfish, you're collecting apple snails. So in the direct impact to these crawfish operations, blocking canals.
Diaz's focus is entomology, but as the director of the Invasive Species Research Center, he says having a diverse team of scientists will help tackle such a massive issue.
I don't have the expertise in everything, but I do have a team that can bring that expertise with the goal of developing, again, these comprehensive maps, right? That at least we cover the key aspects of management.
For this first year, Diaz hopes to test the capabilities of this new research center, finding out how they can work with businesses and organizations to develop methods to combat things like Chinese tallow trees, crepe myrtle bark scale, and many, many others.
So imagine a scientist be able to develop a monitoring tool for a new invasive species, a new technique, a new method, and then be able to work with the private industry and say, hey, can we develop this to the next level and commercialize some of these management tools? And this can be, from monitoring tools, dispersal mechanisms, or trapping systems. So that's what I like also, the idea of eventually having this truly a multidisciplinary as well as multiple stakeholders on invasive species coming to a table and say, hey, if I have this new product that a scientist developing LSU, how I can link it to the industry, how we can commercialize that for the benefit again of having that tool available to a wider, the public basically in Louisiana.
For farmers, that means being able to work unimpeded. Diaz hopes these studies can lead to getting those tools out to benefit agriculture.
And the idea is, as we develop different control techniques, as you hear, from pheromone traps to insecticides, and then how we evaluate those methods of control, how we deliver this to the farmers. The Ag Center and the Department of Entomology and Plant Pathology, they have been working on direct practical applications of these new techniques to the farmers.
The Ag Center can supply crews of Salvinia weevil by request if you have an infestation, but you're encouraged to make that call earlier in the season when it could be more easily managed. We've got a link to information about the weevils as well as other invasive species on our website, twilatv.org.
Okay, Mr. Meeks, so what makes Louisiana such a hotbed for invasive species?
Well, we all know Louisiana is very unique, right? It happens to be the I-10 corridor. We have the Mississippi River. We have a multitude of climates that just make it perfect. Of all the invasive species in the United States, 40% call Louisiana home.
Oof.
Wow, that's a good factoid. Thank you very much, Josh
Very
Meeks. Corn planting is complete across Louisiana, and soybean planting is ahead of the 5-year average, according to the USDA.
Rains on Thursday and Friday are providing moisture, but what does that mean for growing conditions? Nick Mikulas joins us now with the farmer's forecast. Nick?
Well, we have seen a big change across the state over the last 30 days in the haves and have-nots with the rainfall, like Baton Rouge, less than 3 inches of rain, but out around Leesville, where it looks like the rain gauge has just flat out given up at this point, 15.65 inches of rain for April. Now, in a typical April, we see 5 to 6 inches of rain, so it's a pretty wet month, but to see 15 plus, that is a lot of rain, and you can see a lot of areas in the state have doubled up on that 5-inch normal total for the month, and are 10 plus for the last 30 days. Now, looking into next week, it looks like things are going to calm down a bit. I don't foresee a lot of rainfall, nothing really organized until perhaps on the weekend we could get some scattered showers and thunderstorms, but right here, your rainfall outlook generally not showing much at all through at least Thursday of next week. Now, getting into the precipitation outlook for the rest of the week, it does look like we'll see at least some rainfall here. So normal, that's going to be probably 3/4 to an inch, something in that range. Some of you, again, going to see less because this is getting into that warmer season stuff where we get the scattered showers and thunderstorms, and it's not going to be this organized thing where I can say, hey, it looks like an inch or two. This could be the time where you get nothing and 2 miles down the road they get 2 inches, so it's going to be much trickier to forecast those kind of things. Now, if you need to dry out, and I know a lot of areas of the state do because we've seen, like I said, out in Leesville, over 15 inches of rain, it does look like your temperature outlook is going to be above normal for the week, and it looks like that is going to bring us into the 90s for many locations. So highs from 90 to 95 degrees, overnight lows in the 70s. We are certainly heating up, and with that will come the humidity, but it will help to dry things out where that is needed. Back to y'all.
Nick, thank you so much. Still to come on Twila, we take you to Iowa, Louisiana, where Neil Melancon visits a family-owned beef farm hoping to share their passion with their customers.
And later, we'll head up to Franklin Parish to see where more than 330,000 pounds of catfish go out every week to your favorite restaurants.
You're watching This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
Here's a heads up for all you anglers out there. Registration is officially open for the annual Louisiana Farm Bureau Fishing Rodeo. It's June 5th and 6th at Cocoa Marina in Chauvin. There are prizes for top 3 redfish as well as the largest sheep's head, flounder, and drum. There will also be a surprise category that will be revealed at the competition. Entry fees are $100 a person and $500 per corporate sponsor. We'll have all the full rules and details on how to sign up right now at our website at twilatv.org. Louisiana is a cow-calf state, which means most of our cattle are sold into feedlots in other states. However, a growing movement is seeking to keep some of that beef for our dinner plates back home.
Twila's Neil Melancon takes us to Fontenot Beef Farm, where beef isn't just what's for dinner, it's a way of life.
It's dinner time here at Fontenot Farms. Donna's giving these replacement cattle a little treat here at their farm near Iowa. While they do get some supplements, it's a mostly grass diet for them.
We raise our baby calves up to about 10 months old. At that point, they're weaned from their mamas. We wean them and then we'll put them back out on grass, let them grow some more. So they're processed at about 800 to 1,000 pounds of live weight, but it takes us almost 18 to 24 months to get them to that size after they're weaned.
Donna doesn't just raise the cattle, she feeds them to her family. That's why Fontenot Farms feels confident in their business model of farm to table.
We have a lot of loyal customers that continue to come back to us time and time again. It can also be a challenge getting processed what we need to have when they're asking for it. We don't have the big stockpiles of anything, so we have to take it one calf at a time.
This pasture was once a rice field. The Fontenots started as fifth-generation rice farmers who began raising cattle 30 years ago and switched to cattle full-time when it got difficult for rice. Donna's husband, Sammy, says it was a tough transition.
We didn't know what we were doing. We started, we had no choice because the cattle market had made a big dive and it was low, and we was trying to look at any avenue we could, so we started that, and it's really worked.
The Fontenots have two sons. Their youngest, Gus, is a butcher himself and says their farm-to-table model is part of the future because of the economics and the interest in where people's food comes from.
There's not as much of a middleman, so you know, the calves we butcher, we raise them, you know. Whether you got to pull calves, if the mother has trouble giving birth, or just let you see it from the first days of life till the end.
That doesn't mean the farm is without its challenges. The past couple of years have taught some harsh lessons.
Weather conditions play such a part in the outcome of what happens with our cattle. The past couple of years, the hay production has been really low because of the drought situations, and if we don't have hay, that means we don't have grass. If we don't have grass in our pastures, we can't feed our cattle. They won't grow.
What keeps this farm going? In a word, family.
You know, I don't know what it's not like to work with my family, so I would say it's all I know. I was raised on a farm. Our family worked together. That Sammy and I married in 1988. We've continued the same thing. I raised our boys on the farm. They worked with us. So it's all I've ever known.
When most people think about Cajun food, they think about gumbo and jambalaya and crawfish etouffee. But what most eat on a day-to-day basis is this: rice and gravy made here with Fontenot's very own grass-fed beef. And along with these blackberries and dumplings that Donna picked herself, this is going to make for a great meal. Reporting from Iowa, Louisiana, I'm Neil Melancon.
You can try the Fontenot Farm products for yourself. We'll link you over to where you can find those on our website at twilatv.org. With things warming up, y'all might want to get outside for a crawfish boil. You know, perfect if you're watching baseball this weekend.
It's the last month of the peak of the season, so let's take a look at a few of the prices around the state. For you Bulldogs at Louisiana Tech, the team's away, but if you're watching at home, Taste of Crawfish will sell them for $2.75 a pound. They don't have any boiled, but you can find a pound for $6.25 over at Flying Burger and Seafood.
The Southeastern Lions are hosting UNO in Hammond, so check out the Winn-Dixie on West Thomas, where they're $2.46 a pound live, $3.39 a pound boiled. And LSU is facing off against #1 Texas A&M at the box. If you're close to campus, University Seafood has crawfish live for $2.75 a pound and $6.49 a pound for boiled.
These crawfish prices are brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, which reminds you to always eat Louisiana crawfish and to make sure, ask before you eat.
Still to come on Twila, you better move out of Bruce's way.
We promise that that's the only cow pun we let him have. Meet this unique pair after the break.
Louisiana has a rich aquaculture industry. No doubt you're familiar with the crawfish, oyster, and shrimp, but that list of delicious foods from the Bayou State should also include farm-raised catfish. Carl Herring lives in Franklin Parish in North Louisiana. Since 1959, he and his family have owned and operated Wisner Minnow Hatchery.
Well, Wisner Minnow Hatchery started back in 1959. My dad, Pete Herring, W.C. Herring, started it, and Uncle Walter McGee, he started raising minnows, golden shiners for fish bait. And then by 1965, he got off in growing catfish.
The catfish produced by Karl is U.S. farm-raised catfish. That's an industry that operates in Louisiana and surrounding southern states.
Well, we got about 11 fish farmers that's back in business, 1,000 acres of water. So if they all have good luck, the Lord blesses them, it should produce about 10 to 12 million pounds of catfish.
That's 10 or 12 million pounds of catfish that the consumer will buy at restaurants and grocery stores across the state of Louisiana.
We get them, load them up on a truck, bring them to the processing plant. It takes about 30, 45 minutes to run them through the plant, put them on ice, and haul them to the customer the next day, so they're fresh.
They're fresh and they're certified Louisiana.
Became certified Louisiana, have it on all our boxes and packages where we process and sell catfish. A lot of customers want Louisiana fish and know the fish are coming from Louisiana.
Farm-raised catfish live in freshwater ponds like this, where they are fed protein-rich pellets every day on the water surface. It takes about 18 months to grow a 1-pound catfish. The net used to collect the catfish ensures that only those of at least that size are caught. Catfish are transported to the processing plant live in freshwater containers and are processed quickly before shipping out to restaurants and grocery stores.
Well, it's important to buy Louisiana certified products because it helps the Louisiana economy. Because the fish farmer buys feed, we buy fish, it keeps our labor busy. We try to buy all our supplies at the plant, the boxes, everything we use, all from Louisiana that's available, so it helps boost up our economy and keep people employed in Franklin Parish.
Certified Louisiana's Crawfish Tales with Commissioner Mike Strain was brought to you by the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry Certified Louisiana Program. For information about the Certified Louisiana, Certified Cajun, Certified Creole, Certified Craft Beverage, and the Certified Farm to Table Logo Program, visit certifiedlouisiana.org or ldaf.la.gov. Support Louisiana families. Look for Certified Louisiana logos at your favorite grocery, restaurant, or farmer's market. Buy Louisiana. It's the way to grow.
Time now for this week's Twila Boost, and it's one that our cattle ranchers and dairy farmers can relate to. Stubborn cattle. I think you can relate to that too from your showing days.
Yeah, and stubborn co-host too. The only difference is most are usually dealing with those cattle outside. Meet Bruce. Bruce is Elias Herrera's giant pet. Unlike most cattle, though, Bruce gets nearly free rein inside the house. This usually leads to huge messes inside the house.
It's like having children. Bruce and Elias have more than 1 million followers on Instagram and TikTok each, so for you farmers and ranchers looking to make it big on social media, maybe all you have to do is let your livestock wreck your kitchen, wreck your house. You know, the saying goes, bull in a china shop, right?
I don't need another animal in a house. I've got a baby.
Teddy will do that. Kids will do that.
Well, that does it for this edition of Twila. Be sure to join us next week when we'll show you how the state forestry program is combating a serious threat to the state's biggest agricultural moneymaker, timber.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find all of these stories and more on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications. That way you know when we put something new out there.
For all of us here at Twila, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.